Hi there, I'm Amanda Castor with Material Girl Quilts. Today I'm here to share with you another super fast, super easy fat quarter quilt pattern that's going to be great for beginners or anyone who just has maybe some large print, scale print fat quarters that they don't want to cut up. This is a perfect pattern for those fabrics. So this is called the Brick House quilt, and it takes a total of 18 fat quarters. And the fat quarters I used for my quilt were all fall colors, and I thought it would be perfect for our October pattern for the month. As you can see, the pieces of this quilt are very large, so it goes together very quickly. In fact, you'll be able to piece this quilt in an afternoon without a problem. As a reminder, in addition to this tutorial, there's a link to the pattern in the video description below. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing you're going to need to do is, out of your 18 fat quarters, you will select 14 of those that you will cut two 8.5 inch by 16.5 inch rectangles. And the other 4 fat quarters, you will cut one 8.5 inch by 16.5 rectangle and two 8.5 inch squares. And those squares will actually be placed on the outside edges of the quilt. So before we cut these fat quarters, I want to point out what you need to do if you have directional fabric. Now on this quilt, most of my print fat quarters were actually directional, as you can see in this print here. So since the bricks on the quilt lay horizontally, you will want to make sure that you cut if you care about the direction of your fabric, which some people don't, but if you do care about the direction of your fabric and how it lays in your quilt, you want to make sure that you cut your rectangles so that when they lay horizontally on the quilt, that your fabric is facing that direction. So as you can see, this fabric here is laying that direction, so when I cut my rectangles, I will make sure to cut this way and here. Now if your fabric is directional in the opposite way, you will cut your rectangles this way. Okay, so now I have already made sure that I have a straight edge on the left side here, so what I'll do is line that up on the 0 of my cutting mat, and then I will cut at 8.5 inches on the mark on my cutting mat. And then I will move over to 17, because we're cutting two rectangles from this that are both 8.5 inches in width, and 8.5 times 2 is 17. And so this is the scrap from that side. And then what you can do next is, just from these long pieces here, you can, if it's one of your rectangles that you're cutting or if it's one of your fat quarters that you're cutting two 16.5 inch rectangles from, you can lay them on top of each other and cut those at the same time. Or you can cut separately if you have one of the fat quarters that will be one 16.5 inch rectangle and two 8.5 inch squares. Now that you have all of your rectangles and squares cut, you're going to lay them out according to this layout diagram. You will see that the top row contains 4 8.5 inch by 16.5 inch rectangles. And then the second row has 3 of those rectangles and two 8.5 inch squares. So you will continue laying out your rows in this way, alternating between each row, whether it's all rectangles or rows that include the squares, for a total of 9 rows. Once your rows are completed, you will sew them together to finish your quilt top. Your completed quilt will measure 64 inches by 72 inches. Now, as I said, I think this pattern is perfect for large scale prints, thinking Anna Maria Horner's large florals. I have a couple of options that I've sketched out that I'm thinking of doing. One includes some of the darker prints of the Elixir collection by Melody Miller for Ruby Star Society. And the other is this Scandy collection by Andover Fabrics, where I just love the reds, grays, and whites in this collection. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please click the like button and subscribe to make sure you don't miss any tutorials going forward. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next time.